Q, Queen's student television program, is brought to you in part by Procter & Gamble, continuing a long tradition of hiring Queen's students. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Studio Q. I'm Graham Abbey, and as we promised you for weeks on end, we would find a co-host for the show. Well, we tried anyway. Teza Lawrence, who was on last week's show, has agreed to fill in this week and for the rest of the term. Welcome, Teza.
Thanks, Graham. And I'm really looking forward to working with Graham for the rest of the year. Not. Tonight, Graham and I are sitting in the Studio Q editing suite where I usually am. We've got a great show lined up for you. We'll be looking at our first profile of the AMS executive candidates for this year. We'll also be going to Clark Hall to try some home brew.
But first, where the heck is the yearbook? The 1992-93 edition of the Tricolor Yearbook still has not arrived. With a special investigation into the mysterious whereabouts of the yearbook, here's Steph Wilson.
This is the Tricolor Yearbook you'll never see. For months, students asking for the 1993 edition were given only apologies for production deadlines that continually pushed back the release date. But the yearbook that will finally come out late next month will be much different from the book planned in these blueprints.
The printing of this book could definitely have caused an uproar on campus, and the printing of this book would certainly have far-reaching ramifications.
So what caused this delay? Robert Yee, the editor of the missing book, says production problems were partially to blame.
There were copyright problems with the news section, color separation problems for the color section, photo problems throughout the book for the last section that photos which were done by people.
However, Yee claims that these problems occurred in the summer after former Media Services Director Sherry Fraser approved a problem-free and completed yearbook in April.
She saw most of the pages, I believe, if not all of them.
Yee also claims that Eric Jabal, the present director, knew about the problems over the summer.
Eric was aware of this because I showed him some of the photos which were returned.
At no time was I told that the book was in fact incomplete until I found out for myself firsthand in late August or late July.
Last week, Yee wrote a letter to the Queen's Journal attacking Jabal and this year's editor, Karen Kilcullen. In it, he defended his work, writing that, "I've seen a lot of mistakes on their part. They should do their research instead of trying to pass blame." But they have done their research, and it shows a very different story. Studio Q obtained these faxes from the publisher of the yearbook, Herff Jones. They reveal that Yee sent only 85 pages on time by May the 3rd, and 219 pages at least 2 months late. It was November, a full 6 months past the deadline, that the publisher finally received the completed book. Yee still won't accept responsibility. Instead, he passes the blame on to Eric Jabal and this year's editor.
I asked her whenever it was my turn to do distribution when you would be available to do it. So even if I didn't tell her, she should have remembered from the last 2 years with working with the Tricolor. This is how things are done. She should have been aware that it was part of the duty that she had to do.
If you look into my job description, you will find that that does not appear anywhere in there. And just to double check, we've called the yearbook company to check on past precedent, and it has never, ever in history of the Tricolor Yearbook with this publishing company ever been done that the following year's editor has the responsibility to call and ask for delivery.
She basically is not as competent as I was. She did not ask me to train her on the computer or layout or ask me any questions.
There is just comment after comment where he alleges that I am incompetent, nasty, evil, what have you, and for such statements to be printed in the campus media constitutes libel.
The delays have caused numerous headaches for Kilcullen as she tries to explain to angry graduates why a book that is not her responsibility is so late, but her war of words with Yee proved to be a minor problem. In December, the blue proofs of the yearbook were sent back to Queen's for approval. Evidence of Yee's personal touch was everywhere. On this memorial page, which listed the names of students who died during the school year, Yee included a memorial to his grandfather, who passed away over the summer. It was also in December that, some say, disturbing and offensive quotes were discovered in a new section at the bottom of the graduate pages. In past yearbooks, quotations in the grad section were no more than a small line that even our cameras can barely pick up. In this year's book, the quotes were very prominent.
They're basically from anything that comes from the Education Commission, basically. Like any of the LGBT groups, there were gay quotes, lesbian quotes, there were anti-racist quotes, there were pro-feminist quotes, there were environmental quotes.
In the 1992 Tricolor, the quotes joked about the 95 Arts jacket fiasco and included humorous observations from the golden words. Yee's 93 Tricolor, by comparison, had a very sexual overtone. The blue proofs show sections on erotica, safe sex, and a number of quotes dealing with the sexual experiences of celebrities like Roseanne Arnold, Don Johnson, and Madonna. But several of the quotes were sexually explicit. For example, the yearbook quotes porn star Jeff Stryker. The dildo people came to me. From what they say, it's the best-selling dildo in the history of dildos. They added nothing in width from the mold from my penis, but they added an inch in length. It insults me that they did. Other quotes, like this one from a United States congressman, were even more explicit, as he comments on the spread of AIDS. This quote appeared on the same page as pictures of graduates who have obtained a master's in industrial relations. It's all about how people insert the penis into the anus, and they insert a fist into the anus, etc., etc. How does Yee justify these new additions?
I mean, the anti-homophobia, anti-harassment people that I've seen said it was a good change because of the way the culture is. To empower, if we empower at least one person, that's better than offending two people that are perhaps redneck.
A yearbook is forever, and it's a record of Queen's history. And as such, I believe that there are definitely certain members of the Queen's community who would have taken offense to the wording.
That left the AMS with a sticky problem. The yearbook editor is given editorial freedom to produce the book. Any attempt to remove the quotes in question could be seen as an act of censorship and a violation of artistic freedom. In December, Jabal contacted a variety of officials on campus to discuss the quotes. On their advice, the yearbook's printing was held back until they could seek legal advice. The firm of Hickey & Hickey reviewed the case for the AMS and found that the quotes do not violate the criminal code as obscenities in any way. However, they did question the taste of the new section and its potential for libel suits against Queens. On the basis of that legal advice, the AMS Board of Directors, authorized by Kilcullen to act as an editorial board in this matter, released this press release Wednesday, saying that offensive quotes in the yearbook would be removed and that they had no place in the pages of the book. This whole process was costly. The AMS must pay an additional $8,000 to remove the quotes. And when do we finally get the books? Providing there are no further delays, this year's Tricolor is expected by the end of February. For those of you who are still confused about this incident, perhaps Robert Yee's own words, taken from his message as editor in this year's Tricolor, might be useful. He writes, "One has to realize that a yearbook is not only a collection of memories, but a representation of the different ideological values which society perpetuates. Has it been worth the trouble? Well, you be the judge." For Studio Q, I'm Stephanie Wilson reporting.
Coming up, sick of house hunting? Haven't started yet? Not sure what to look for? Stay tuned, because Studio Q can help you. Beer. It's a popular drink at Queen's University. So popular, in fact, that Queen's students went to great lengths to brew their own premiums for the golden words beer brewing contest. Meredith Grant was at Clark Hall Pub this Saturday night to watch as prominent figures from the Queen's University and Kingston community came out to taste these fine and unique brews.
The Brody Bowl. Chances are this means nothing to you. But in Clark Hall Pub tonight, no one wants a part of it. A select few might. It's the famed prize for the worst brew of the Golden Word's annual beer brewing contest. Let's go check it out. Saturday night's events began at 7 o'clock with a wine and cheese party where a selected panel of 22 judges mingled and prepared for the contest, which this year was sponsored by Brew. The judging panel was made up of members of the Golden Word's editorial staff, applied science faculty and alumni, members of the Queen's media, and representatives of Brew, among others. In charge of the contest, which has been running for 23 years, were Andrew Robinson and David Prescott, the Golden Word's special events conveners. When talking with them before the night began, they explained the purpose of the wine and cheese.
Some people, they haven't seen each other in a long time. Some of them don't know each other.
However, some of the judges had their own ideas.
The secret is to line your stomach.
Shortly after 8 o'clock, Clark opened its doors to the public and the judges took their places to begin the great task that lay before them. Some of the factors to consider in the ranking were the severity of intestinal cramps caused, the average size of chunky bits, and the beer's effectiveness as a rat poison. Some judges had comments on the quality of certain beer entries.
It is quite unusual.
For all of the hardship, though, everyone seemed to have a fun time. After large quantities of beer were consumed, scoring sheets were handed in and results were tallied. The winner of the contest was Rene Mass with his Whites and Beer creation, who was awarded with a $50 gift certificate to Brew. And the Brody Bowl was earned by previous 1991 winners Garrett Breeze, Derek Rice, Wade Coulter, Brad Peddle, and Jamie Forrest, with their invention of Beaver Dry. The proceeds of the event went to the Big Brothers Association, and the experience was one which none of the judges will forget. For Studio Q, I'm Meredith Grant reporting.
Hi, this is What's On Where with Kathy White. This weekend at the Shot, don't miss their Super Bowl bash, complete with door prizes. Come get Super Dogs and Super Shots for $1 while catching the game on their super screen. Come early and get a super seat. This Friday at Alfie's, be part of the Arts 94, haven't got a formal date, but will by last call smoker. On Sunday at 4, watch the Bills and Cowboys battle it out on the big screen. This Wednesday, don't miss the live action of The Odds and Rhymes with Orange. The QP also has live entertainment on Friday with Todd McRae and Richard Godwin. The QP is also having a party for Super Bowl 26 this Sunday. Make sure you get a chance to check out this weekend's sports action at one of Kingston's fine local establishments. That's it for What's On Where this week.
As you probably noticed, the entire campus is abuzz with talk of landlords, leases, locations, and other assorted housing lingo. If you have no idea where to go, or for that matter, what to do, Erin Goldkind has some advice for you.
With January comes the infamous house hunting crunch here at Queen's. But if you're one of the many students searching for that perfect place to live next year, make sure to speak to the experts first.
Be selective, ask the questions, do some shopping now, as I said. The listings are just starting to come online. There seems to be ample accommodation out there for people to be selective and choosy.
Students feel that where you live is just as important as how you live.
The location is really important. You wouldn't want to live like up in the GAN, as the town is called, Gananoque.
There were clear advantages, however, to living further away.
Between classes, you're either going to go back to your house or you're going to go to the library and work if you live really far, right? So, you know.
When asked what students' main complaints were about their landlords, the same answer kept popping up.
I know.
Pressure to sign the lease.
We got there and there's people waiting outside to see the house, and the landlord was like, "Are you going to sign this? Are you going to sign this?" And we were like, "What the hell are we going to do?" And we just said, "What the hell?" And we signed, and we didn't really realize what we were getting into.
The Kingston Public Utilities Commission advises that you should...
If you keep away from the electric heat, you will save yourself a lot of money.
Like, you don't want somebody who's, like, spending, like, who's, like, lighting, like, 5,000 appliances in his room every night.
Be sure to ask a lot of questions of the landlord, and because you can't ask too many questions.
But you might not always get the whole story from the landlord.
So talk to the present tenants. Don't be shy. Figure out some way to corner one of them and say, can we phone you in a half an hour so we don't have to talk in front of the landlord?
Other options exist, such as Princess Towers, Science 44 Co-op, or even residence. Regardless of where you're aiming to live, there are some general precautions to keep in mind.
People that are first-time renters have to be as prepared as they possibly can when they're going out looking.
Look to see if the kitchen is big enough. If there's a
washer and dryer for sure. It's such a pain to like have to drag all your like laundry to like up on University Avenue.
5 people, I think you need 2 bathrooms because I know a lot of people have had problems with that.
Pay attention to the size of your bedroom.
Because you're sleeping in that room most of the time. And then...
most of the time?
Well,
Where are you the other times, Brad?
I don't know. In the ditch with like...
Also, make sure the room gets enough light, because you wouldn't want to spend your time in a room like this.
You're spending a lot of money over probably 12 months, and a lot's riding on it. You know, your academic, your social, your financial success is riding on your comfort.
But if you talk to most upper years, the reasons they move houses are because of problems with housemates. So make sure you
choose your housemates well. Don't end up living with a couple of lazy jerks. Like I've made that mistake. No, I'm just kidding, guys.
If you're still not sure, the experts are here to help. And if you're in first year, try talking to your gales, bosses, and frecs, because they've been through the ropes. Remember the key concerns: size and condition of the house, its location, the landlord, the lease, and your housemates. But remember, you should be shopping, not necessarily signing, because there's still plenty of time to find that perfect student abode. For Studio Q, out in the cold, I'm Ari Goldkind, reporting.
Well, Queens, it's that time once again where we will all have to sit up and take notice as to who might be leading our student body in the years 1994-95. How will you cast your ballots? Do you even know who's running? This week is part 1 of our 2-week profile on the unusual number of candidates running for this year's AMS election.
I'm Erin Phelan here with the Arnold Gallardi Skadron team. While the candidates are expressing their direct involvement with student government, this team believes their lack of experience with the AMS will help eliminate problems of the past. And as this team says, out with the old, in with the new.
Yet we're sincere in what we want to do. It's about time someone goes in there as the average student and makes a difference.
Presidential candidate Arnold continued to talk about the problem the AMS has had with being an exclusive fraternity of friends hiring friends.
Very unproductive for a corporation, perhaps productive on the social side within the AMS, but as a whole very counterproductive to the whole thing that the AMS stands for. The AMS is a representative government. That means representative of the student body, not representative of your small, close-knit circle of friends.
The candidates stressed the concept of working closely together as a team of individuals, not friends. When asked how they would eliminate problems the current executive has experienced with their commissioners, this is what they had to say.
What happened this year was that the communication lines broke down. There was a definite lack of communication on the part of the executive and the people under them. That is due primarily to the fact that there is a lacking hierarchical structure within the AMS. They're so afraid to delegate responsibility that they avoid it. And in avoiding it, you avoid communication. And when you avoid communication, you invite breakup. And that's what happened this year.
On Wednesday night, all the candidates fielded questions from students in Victoria Hall. Tuition hikes were obviously on everyone's minds, and Arnold held to his team's view that tuition will inevitably be raised, but that Queen's involvement with lobbying government should remain with USA.
USA is a viable form of lobbying. It's something that we should keep, something we should keep in contact with, and perhaps expand, something that we should look at using more progressively as a form of lobbying than is being used right now.
However, although tuition fees may be going up, Vice Presidential Candidate of Operations Jessica Skadron doesn't believe in cutting funding and reducing student fees.
Student fees are there. Students make an investment in their school. I want to make sure that their investment is being used to their greatest advantage.
When asked about vids in the hall, a controversial topic on campus, Skadron held to her team's view that it should remain in the JDUC.
They haven't been in existence for very long, and it is my experience that it takes 3 to 5 years to figure out whether a service is feasible or not.
Skadron then commented on the importance of this service, given the fact there are at least 3 video stores minutes from campus.
I agree with that. That's students' input. We'd have to ask the students, what do you think?
The team is committed to finding responsible, workable daycare, but believes the Parent Resource Center is an inefficient use of space. They expressed the need to work together with the Mature Students Association and Graduate Student Society to reach a joint decision on this matter. At the forum, several candidates talked about the need for a resurgence of school spirit. Vice presidential candidate of University Affairs, Carolyn Ghilardi, spoke of her team's planned revisions in Frosh Week.
I'm for the lengthening of Frosh Week, and I'm also for the bringing back of Trash Week. One of our priorities here is that we would like to have more control brought back of Orientation Week to the AMS.
When asked what they felt this would do to relations with the Kingston community, this is what they had to say.
Let's face it, I mean, there's never been good relations with the Kingston community, and the chances are there never will be. I mean, there's always going to be people up there who are going to be upset and up in arms about Queens. Queens is here, we can't move. Kingston is here, they can't move. Deal with it, folks.
If elected, this team is committed to making the AMS more responsible to students.
When you vote for us, you're voting for a new slate of candidates, new ideas, new directions. When you're voting for them, you're voting for old ideas, old guard, set ideologies, and set principles. So don't be afraid of change. Change is the thing which makes our world tick. So when you go out to vote, remember to vote for Arnold, Ghilardi, and Skajan.
For Studio Q, I'm Erin Phelan reporting.
Meet Mike Asselstein, a third-year biology student who is one of 5 candidates running for AMS president. He has experience as ASSIS rep to the AMS, a job which requires him to sit on both councils. Key to Asselstein is running a campaign which will attempt to bridge the gap between the student body and the AMS by making the AMS executive more active and visible in the Queens community. Asselstein commented on the importance of visibility.
And how visible we are to the student population. I think it's imperative that the executives get out among the students, be it as extreme as, Macquarie every Wednesday at 2 o'clock having donuts and coffee. I think the students have to see their executive taking an active role.
Running for VP of Operations on the Asselstein ticket is Wayne Leitman, a third-year economics student. Although Leitman has no formal experience with the AMS, he feels that he has gained much experience from his family business. If elected, Leitman plans on changing the operations philosophy from an efficiency emphasis to that of a more quality-oriented approach. According to Leitman, the quality of service from the AMS must be improved from the ground up. In other words, from the servers at Alfie's to the big guns on the AMS executive. To complete this trio, running for VP of University Affairs is Linda Shin. Shin is a third-year politics major who refers to herself as a regular student crusading for the rights of regular students at Queens.
And I don't think that just the average student is taking into consideration and what affects the average life, the daily life of students is really taken into consideration.
Shin has served on the Politics DSC executive and also as an USA coordinator. Shin feels, however, that her limited experience is less of a drawback than an asset, which will aid her in achieving her goal of taking an active role so Queen's students are heard in the community. According to Shin, this requires stepping back and taking a look. When asked to characterize his team, Asselstein phrased it this way.
I think pretty much what we've adopted our slogan to be, our buzzword, what have you, is fight for your right.
The main philosophy of this team is bridging the gap between the students and the AMS. The Asselstein crew agrees with strict autonomy of Queen's News Media for the purpose of keeping the AMS accountable to the students. The main party platforms, according to the candidates, are better daycare facilities, closer review of student activity fees, improved quality, and visibility of the executive. It seems every year at least one candidate team proposes to bridge the gap between the student body and the AMS executive. One can only hope that if the Asselstein ticket gets elected, they can do a better job bridging the gap than they feel maybe some teams have done in the past. For Studio Q, I'm Crawford Smith, reporting.
Guy named Glenn Williams and Phelan Anastasiadis, I think. Isn't that right?
It's Tim Wilson, Todd,
Isn't Barry one of the head guys too?
Kate Phillips, Todd Minerson, and Tim Wilson.
Corey Beeston Whiteman.
Catherine Phillips and Todd Wilson are the only 2 names that I know.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yep.
I haven't any idea.
We know
We know the president.
We just looked it up in the paper.
No, I have no idea.
You don't
Sorry.
know?
Let's get
I
this
don't.
thing
No, I
going.
don't. Kate Wilson, Kate something.
It's Todd Minerson and Catherine Phillips, and I'm missing one, but under the pressure of the camera, I can't remember.
I know Todd and Catherine. I know what one of them looks like, but is Craig Knoxon one of them?
I'm thinking Wilson, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Catherine Phillips, Todd Myerson, and Tim Wilson.
No. Do you know their names? No? Okay. Tim Minerson?
Kate Phillips, Wilson, Tim Wilson. Yeah, no, that's a good.
Sean.
President Catherine Phillips, and Vice Presidents are Tim Wilson and Todd Minerson.
Yeah.
No, you don't know? Okay, that's fine.
The only guy I know is the guy who had that they're always giving crap in the Golden Wars to.
Phillips, Minerson, and someone else.
Bailey Thompson. No, I think that was last.
Catherine Phillips, Emerson, and Tim Wilson. That other guy with the blonde hair.
Vice President, I know, Tim, the guy with the bowling ball and stuff.
Sure, we know them all.
Yeah, we know them all.
Okay.
The president's Catherine, what's-her-name, Phillips. Vice President University Affairs is Todd, the blonde guy, Minerson. And I'm your VP Ops, the slack-jaw rat, video-stealing Comrade Riker on drugs-looking, clean-shaven human bowling ball, Tim Wilson.
And now a special word from our corporate sponsor, Procter & Gamble. Do you have the summer job blues? Are you in third year? Want to get a head start in your career? Then why not consider Procter & Gamble's summer internship program?
But I'm not in commerce.
You don't have to be in commerce. There are opportunities in finance, sales management, systems, brand management, and manufacturing. So pick up an information package at Career Planning and Placement near Vic Hall. Procter & Gamble is looking for highly motivated people from any background or discipline. But you'd better hurry. Applications are due by January 28th.
Hi, this is Joe Byrne for Studio Q Sports. In women's volleyball, the Gales pulled off a key win over Ottawa last week, defeating the Gee-Gees 3-1. The Gales toppled Ryerson over the weekend with a final score of 3-0. In men's volleyball action, the Gales traveled to Dalhousie, where they won silver, losing to the home team 3-1 in the finals. In men's hockey, the Gales hosted Western and Windsor in Jock Hardy Arena over the weekend. The Gales came up short against the #1 ranked Mustangs, losing by a goal with a final score of 3-2. Sunday's game brought success to the struggling Gales, where they defeated Windsor 4-3 with strong play by Andrew Clark and defenseman Dan Brown. On a lighter note, the weekdays took place over the weekend, with 32 teams competing in inner tube water polo, broomball, rugby basketball, and volleyball. Over 900 students participated in the event, with teams ranging from the mighty Chunks of Clark Hall Pub to the Mako Jockos. The women's squash team brought home 2 medals from the individual championships. Carolyn Russell struck gold for the 2nd year in a row, while Carol Ann Rogers took the bronze. That's it for sports. I'm Joe Byrne.
Well, that's Studio Q for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Before we go, though, we have our weekly phone quiz, and this applies to Thursday's show only. The question this week is, and this is our video toaster in action, name an AMS election team. So if you know the answer to that question, please call 541-1040, and you will have the chance to win a Dr. Gertie's t-shirt.
And last week's winner of a t-shirt as well was Amy Fisher.
Amy Fisher. So congratulations there, Amy.
Anyway, if there's any questions or comments, feel free to write us. Our address is Studio Q, Room 22, John Deutsch University Center, Kingston, Ontario. K7L 3N6. I got it, I'm so happy.
Good stuff, Graham.
Thanks for tuning in. For Studio Q, I'm Graham Abbey.
And I'm Teza Lawrence.
See ya.
Take care and be warm.